Right. Okay, cool. Let's get started, guys, without any further ado. Now, again, a quick formal introduction on my end. My name is Mohammed Shoaib. I'm a cybersecurity trainer certified from EC Council. And the course we are going to take the demo on today is Certified Ethical Hacking version 12. Now, this is a course for people who are completely new to this domain of cybersecurity and who have no idea regarding it. Okay, so let me define this term first. What is hacking and what is ethical hacking? And then we're going to discuss what are the remaining course contents, okay, so that we know what is being taught in the course. So firstly, to define hacking, we have, again, when you talk about hacking, it is a procedure of trying to gain access to information systems. Now, what I mean by that phrase, gaining access to information systems, is that, let's say, for example, if I've hacked your mobile phone, it basically means I have complete remote connection to your mobile phone. I can remotely access the data on it. I can remotely download or retrieve the data from it, or I can also remotely delete the data on your phone. Okay, so I have complete remote control over the data and over the mobile phone. Okay, so similarly, when we talk about hacking, it is a procedure of trying to gain access to these information systems. And this is done without the consent and without the permission of the person owning those systems. Okay, and this is usually performed by hackers for their own benefit. As I've mentioned, you can steal the data, destroy the data, or even sell that data to other third-party criminals. Now, hackers are so mischievous that they can even do it just for fun sometimes. Okay, now if hacking is such a malicious task, why do we have a course called ethical hacking? Is the second question. Okay, and what is ethical hacking? So when we talk about ethical hacking, on the other hand, it is a procedure of trying to find vulnerabilities. Now, this term called vulnerability is something that you'll hear throughout the course, guys. So let me define a vulnerability first. It is a loophole. It is a flaw or a weakness in the security of that information system. So our job as ethical hackers is to find these vulnerabilities or these loopholes in the security of the information devices and report it back to the organization. And all of this is done in the consent and in the viewing of the organization. So we do not do anything discreetly. We are completely transparent with the organization with our penetration testing or security checks. Okay. And once we find the vulnerability, we report it back to the organization so that they can apply the necessary patches for it. And once a patch is applied, that closes the doorway for the hacker to cause any further harm. So thereby, with ethical hacking, you're trying to increase the security of the infrastructure rather than cause any harm to the organization. We are trying to find the vulnerabilities before the hackers do, and we are trying to report it back to the organization so that they can apply the security updates. Okay, and with the updates applied, you're strengthening the security of the organization. Okay. Now, depending on these two definitions of hacking and ethical hacking, guys, we can categorize the types of hackers. Okay, so there's someone known as a black hat hacker, there's someone known as a gray hat hacker, and then there's someone known as a white hat hacker. Black hat hackers are the cyber criminals who work for their own benefit and hack other systems without permission. White hat hackers are the good guys, okay, the ethical hackers who try to find vulnerabilities in organizations and remediate them. And gray hat hackers are like freelance hackers who again have both the qualities of a black hat hacker and a white hat hacker. Like a black hat hacker, they don't ask for permission first, but once they find the vulnerability, they excuse me, they report it back to the organization. Okay, but here there's a minor catch. They do it for something called as a bounty. A bounty is something which benefits them for finding that vulnerability and reporting it to the organization. So the organization pays them a financial reward or gives them a reputational reward for finding the vulnerability for them. Okay, and in return for that reward, they give them their vulnerabilities back. Okay, so it's like a give and take relationship. And that's why these people are also called as bug bounty hunters. They hunt for bugs in return for a bounty. Okay, now all these three hackers are the professional hackers. The reason being they follow something called as a hacking cycle. Okay, or it can also be called as a cyber kill chain. Now, when we work for an organization, the first question they ask is, what is the hacking cycle that you follow? What is the procedure that you follow to perform hacking or ethical hacking? Okay, and the organization EC Council, which has built this course, has completely divided hacking or ethical hacking into 5 simple steps. Okay, and our course is also going to revolve around the same 5 steps itself. Okay, so first step is called as information gathering. It can also be called as reconnaissance or footprinting. Second step is called as scanning. It can also be called as enumeration. Third step is gaining access. Fourth step is maintaining access. And the last step is reporting or clearing traces. Now, if you carefully observe, only in the last step I've mentioned or here. The reason being, no matter what kind of a hacker you are, whether you be a black hat hacker or a gray hat hacker or a white hat hacker, the first 4 steps that you follow are completely identical. There's no change in the first 4 steps. What varies is only the last step. If you're a white hat hacker or a gray hat hacker, you report the vulnerabilities to the organization so that they can apply the patches for it. On the other hand, if you're a black hat hacker, you don't report anything obviously, but you try to hide yourself or stay anonymous. Okay, you try to delete the log files, you try to delete all the log entries, the footprints created, and you try to stay anonymous so that you don't get caught. Okay, and that in simple terms is called as clearing traces. Okay, now let's briefly discuss about each of the remaining first 4 steps, guys, so you have a better idea about the course content. So the first step is information gathering. As the name itself suggests, this step involves the hacker or the ethical hacker to gather as much information as possible about the target organization. Okay, so if I'm trying to hack an organization like, let's say, for example, Wipro.com, I need to find information about Wipro's website before we try to attack them. Okay, just like any thief does, he needs to perform some research about his target before he attacks on the target. Okay, now the main question here is, what information do you need to research about? And that information is as follows. Okay, so again, first we need to find the IP addresses or the range of IP addresses for the target organization. IP address in the sense, what is the address of the servers that they're using? Okay, IP address is the identity for each and every device that is available on the internet. Okay, so my laptop or any web application server or a database, each of these devices needs an identity for it, and that identity is called as an IP address. It's basically a numerical address, okay, given to each system, which is unique to it. Okay, so we need to find these addresses for each device. Then we need to find the who is records. This tells you who is hosting the website for that organization. Since when was their website last updated? When was it first created? When will their website expire? All that information is obtained from who is records. Then you have DNS records telling what are the domains of the website, what are the subdomains of the website, and the IP addresses linking to those domains and subdomains. Then we need to find the employee details, such as what are the contact numbers of the employees, what are the email addresses of the employees, and what are the fax numbers of the organization. Okay, what are the usernames and passwords that got leaked of the employees on the internet. All this information comes under employee details. Okay, like that we have other informations as well, such as operating system. What OS are they using? Are they using Windows operating systems or Linux operating systems in their organization? What domains do they have? What subdomains do they have? All this information is obtained in the first phase. And all of this information is readily available on the internet itself. You can get all this information from a few special websites on the internet. Now, after all this information is gathered from the internet, then we dive into the next phase, which is scanning phase. Okay. In scanning, what we try to do is we try to get some extra information by making active connections to a target. So what I mean by that is we directly contact the organization servers and try to retrieve some extra data, which we could not get from the internet. Okay. Now, to define what data we get, I can break down scanning into 3 parts. So there's something called as network scanning, port scanning, and vulnerability scanning. In network scanning, we try to figure out in the target organization what all devices are active. So we need to get a network map of the local organization. So how many routers are they using? How many firewalls are they using? How many client operating system devices are they using? How many servers are they using? Are they using any security devices such as IDS, intrusion detection systems, intrusion prevention systems? Okay, so we are trying to perform a network map. Okay, we're trying to retrieve the list of all the devices in their organization. Once we know the list of all the devices in the target organization, then we perform port scan, trying to figure out on each of those devices what ports are open and what services are they running. And once we know what services are running, finally we perform vulnerability scanning, trying to figure out if any of those services can be attacked on. Does it have any vulnerability through which we can attack the complete device? And during this phase, we're using a very important tool called the Tenable Nessus tool. So you can go to your browser and search for Tenable Nessus, and you can click on the first link here. You can see it's the global gold standard vulnerability assessment built for modern attack surface. Again, this is a real-time scenario tool that is used in organizations, okay, to perform a check of all vulnerabilities on each and every endpoint or each and every device. Okay, and again, if you click on buy here, you can notice it's quite an expensive tool. For just 1 year subscription, it's charging around $6,000, close to $6,000. Okay, again, but luckily for us, there's a trial version. So I'm going to show you how to run this tool like the original paid license tool, okay, with the trial version itself. Again, we'll learn what happens or what works in an organization. Okay, now after all this is done, then we go into the next phase, which is gaining access. Now this is the main core of the subject, guys. Okay, whatever information we have gathered from the first two phases needs to be applied in the gaining access phase. Okay, so from whatever information we have gathered, whatever data we have retrieved, okay, about the organization, we use that data to use as attack entry points. Okay, and on each device we have a certain kind of attack. So in gaining access, we cover each and every endpoint and try to understand how to test the security of each and every device. So let me list out the topics first, and then I'll briefly give an introduction to each topic. Okay. Again, up to this point, any questions, guys? Divya, Muhammad Ali, Nazia.
Okay.
Okay. Now, when we talk about gaining access, guys, first topic in that is system hacking. So system hacking is where we learn how do we crack or bypass a Windows operating system password. So if you have a Windows 7 system or a Windows 11 operating system, or no matter what server it is, Windows 2012 server, Windows 2016 server, whatever it is, I'm going to show you how you can crack the password for it. Okay, try to understand or try to break the password and get to know what the password is. And if you're unable to do so, if the cracking is not working, how do you at least bypass the password and get access to the data? So even without knowing what the password is or without entering the password, how do you still get access to the internal files? So we have some special tools for cracking and bypassing, and I'll show you how to download those tools and use those tools to break the security of a Windows operating system device. Okay. Then we have malware attacks. Malwares are nothing but malicious software, and there's tons and tons of categories in malwares. We'll talk about the most important ones, okay, such as viruses, worms, Trojan, spyware, rootkit, whatnot. We'll practically understand how to create these malwares, how to defend our system from these malwares, and how to detect these malwares in our systems. So in an organization, how do you prevent these malwares from attacking the organization? Or how do you detect if these malwares are already installed on any of the servers? How do you scan for these malwares is what we learn in this topic. Then comes network penetration testing, where we learn how do we perform various network testing devices. Okay, I mean, how do we perform various network tests on devices? Okay, so in a network, you have multiple servers. You have DHCP servers, DNS servers, FTP servers, SNMP servers. An organization can constitute of multiple various protocol servers. So we need to find vulnerabilities on each of these servers. We need to know how to test each server, what tools to use for each server. Okay, and what attacks can be performed if any of these servers or devices contain vulnerabilities. So we'll work with a few common attacks as well that happen in real-time scenarios, such as man-in-the-middle attack, denial of service attacks, or hacking Wi-Fi routers, cracking the password of Wi-Fi routers. All these happen in a local network. Okay, man-in-the-middle in the sense, an attacker can try to remotely capture the data of the other systems in the network. So whatever data I enter through my system's browser, whatever usernames or passwords I enter, an attacker in the same network can capture that data and analyze that, and he can read my usernames and passwords. That is MITM attack. DOS attack is where attackers can shut down remote servers. Okay, so they can overload the server with huge amounts of traffic and make it crash. So we learn how these attacks are performed and what are the prevention techniques to follow from preventing these attacks from happening in our organization. Okay, then comes social engineering, the next topic, where we learn how do hackers create fake login pages. Okay, whether it be social media pages or whether it be bank login websites. Okay, I'm going to show you how hackers clone websites and try to send these fake links to victims and retrieve their passwords. Okay, so how do these phishing attacks happen? How do you distinguish between a phishing page and an original page? Okay, and again, we learn both the attack techniques as well as the defense methodologies. Okay, then comes web application pen testing, where we learn what are the common vulnerabilities in websites. Okay, how do hackers try to break the database servers? Okay, how do they get access to the content in the database? How do they inject malicious script or JavaScript code in websites? How do they break authentication and log in as other users without knowing their password? Or how do hackers upload malicious files to a server and get complete remote connection? So these kind of common attacks is what we learn in CH. Okay, so these attacks have their own technical names: SQL injection for database attacks, cross-site scripting for injecting JavaScript code on websites, broken authentication to bypass authentication and log in as other users without knowing their passwords, okay, using cookies and stuff, and file upload vulnerability, where we can upload malicious files to the server and get their remote connection. Okay, and then we have vulnerability assessment, where we learn whatever vulnerabilities are shown from a vulnerability scanner tool like Nessus. How do you verify those vulnerabilities? How do you check if the tool is giving you correct results or false positives? For that, we need to perform manual testing. So we manually check each and every vulnerability. We try to attack on that vulnerability and verify the results from the tool. And finally, we have hacking mobile phones, where we learn how to attack Android phones and get remote connection with Android phones using Trojan attacks or malicious malware attacks. Okay. Now, this is the main core of the subject. And if you observe over here, we're covering each and every endpoint. We are talking about system security. We are talking about network security. We are talking about wireless security. We are talking about website security. And finally, even about mobile security. These are the common devices that could exist or endpoints that could exist in an organization. Okay. And after this is done, we have two small topics left out, which is maintaining access and reporting or clearing traces. So in maintaining access, we learn how do hackers maintain persistent connections. What I mean by that is, if the hacker has hacked your system, and if you remotely shut down the system or restart the device, hacker should not lose the connection. He needs to maintain the connection to retrieve the data. So how does he maintain this persistent connections? How does he maintain a connection even after the system restart is what we learn in maintaining access. And after that, we have reporting or clearing traces, where I've already explained how do you generate a report or how do you remove the evidences in both hackers and black hat hackers perspective. So this course will run in two tracks. We'll have the attacking first, and then we learn the defense methodologies as well, both the hackers perspective as well as the ethical hackers perspective. Okay, and before we dive into this course, we're going to learn a few prerequisite concepts as well. So we'll learn about basic networking first. Okay, so let me show the course content documentation. Yeah, so first we'll learn basic networking concepts. What are IP addresses? What are IPv4 addresses? What are IPv6 addresses? What is a subnet mask? What is a DHCP server? What is a DNS server? So all these technical fundamental concepts of networking are explained first. Then we learn about Linux and Windows operating system commands, because during our whole course, we'll be using an operating system called the Kali Linux operating system. So you can download this from the official website, kali.org. Okay, so this is an pen testing operating system. So we learn how to download this and how to install this in a local machine, okay, on our own laptops or systems. And once we have the lab setup ready, we're going to dive into the advanced concepts mentioned. Okay, so again, the whole course duration is for 45 days, guys, where we have class for 1 hour each day from Monday to Friday. And yeah, you'll be getting the recordings, you'll be getting the notes, you'll be getting the PDF materials from the official course, EC Council course material. Okay, and if you have any further queries, you can let me know now.
I have already paid fees. So when does the class starts?
We are starting the classes from Friday, Divya. I'm so sorry, I didn't know that. As mentioned earlier in the demo yesterday, I'll be having demos tomorrow as well.
So till Friday, you will be continuing only this one, right? The
No,
demo.
Monday tomorrow. Friday we'll have the first class on networking basics.
Okay, yeah, fine.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, that's that, guys. Nothing further. Any other questions, Ali or Nazia? Okay. Assuming there are no questions, guys. Again, this is the same demo which I took yesterday. So I just fast forwarded that today. And yeah, nothing else, guys. I'm gonna exit the session now. And I'll be seeing you tomorrow at the same time. Bye-bye.
Okay.